Welcome to the 501 Companion Podcast, an educational and news podcast / vodcast for 501(c) charitable organizations that want to create better content, optimize their technology, and improve their marketing to better serve their mission. This is episode 15, and 15 means so much. What, you ask? Well, our 15th president? Of course, James Buchanan, but you knew that. Of course, the traditional gift for a 15-year anniversary is crystal, but the modern gift of a wristwatch for a 15th wedding anniversary has some symbolic meaning. It means that you have a beautiful timepiece that represents the time you have spent together up to this point, as well as the time that you hope to spend together in the future. And of course, this is our 15 minutes of fame. Nick, cue the music. We are in, guys. We are in for a big show. I am joined with my good co-hosts who bring a huge range of experience to our weekly show. Let me introduce them. First, everybody, please meet Matt Balow, our Chief Digital Officer. Matt, tell them who you are and what you do.
Hey, everybody. I am Matt Balow. I am your Chief Digital Officer or Head of Digital Marketing. I've been in the marketing industry for over 20 years at this point, and definitely looking to give people some advice and some conversation around marketing and digital marketing and strategy and all those good things.
Good things. Speaking of good things, everybody, I'd like you to meet Nick Rufa, our Chief Information Officer. Nick, tell them who you are and what you do.
Hi, I am Nick, your company's computer guy. I like to play with computers. I like to make websites. I like to build web pages that Google loves to find and search and crawl and things like that. That's exciting stuff for me.
And Nick, you're the architect behind the website where this podcast can be found. Real quick, tell them where it is.
So it's on 501c3lookup.org. That's 501c3lookup.org. And right at the top in the navigation, you'll see 501c Companion, and that's where you can find these podcasts.
That's great, Nick. And the website is a wonderful resource. We'll probably even mention it tonight in the show because we have a jam-packed show with news and follow-up to previous shows. I'm Buddy Sclera. I'm your Chief Content Officer. I also have a background in technology and content strategy, and I'm here to help lead this conversation. We're here to provide your organization with the information and inspiration to take your charitable mission to the next level, I'm just going to keep that in. Let's start the show. Okay, we're going to start with news, fellas.
Okay.
We're topping it off with a scam charity that gets caught. I'm going to read two headlines for you. Charity founder ordered to repay thousands for using funds for wounded vets on himself. And the second headline, fraudulent charity is shut down. It's all about the same charity. Nick, give us a rundown and then share your initial thoughts.
Well, it is bad, no doubt about it. Anybody, setting up a charity, setting up a 501c3, and then not using the money for its intended purpose is never a good thing. One of the things, though, when headlines are sensational, they're always looking to find one of these, and it's not bad because you should be on your toes. You don't always know who's behind the charity, what drives it, where they put their money and their donations, your donations. So it's good to know. But it's a relatively small charity. So sometimes I think they want you to think this is some sort of international multi-million-dollar charity. And when I looked it up on the 501c3lookup.org, it's a relatively small charity that wasn't created all that long ago. So, on one hand, and again, I could be totally making it up, but it could be somebody just got it, went in it was just more than that person could handle. So it could have had good intentions. I'm reading into it a little bit, but those were my thoughts.
Yeah.
But certainly vetting is a big issue.
Matt, what about you? Did you have the same feeling as Nick? Did you have any additional thoughts on what the impact of this scam might be?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's your kind of knee-jerk instinct is to take it from the donation standpoint, but we're here to talk about what people who are running charities and looking to run charities can do, and should think about. And I think it's just important to note that it's a complex world. A lot of what we do, a lot of the data that we process with Nick, a lot of what we see in the information, a lot of what sites like Charity Navigator does is review the information to decide whether or not it's trusted, and such thing. There are ratings for things that you could do to help, ensuring that you have a website, ensuring that your website is listed in your charity application, ensuring that your mission is clearly stated, ensuring that your documents are open so people can see the spend, and people clearly know where their donation is going, how much money you're using for the executives or for operational elements of it, all these things. It can get difficult, to, as a charity, one of the reasons we exist, that we're here, we may focus on marketing, but there's an operational element. We're here because people who often have a mission and want to start a charity, they may not be natural marketers. They may not, be naturally thinking about how to actually run and seed this machine to keep it going so that they can continue on their mission. They may just have a passion for something, a passion for dogs, something like that. And so how do they do that? How are you the CEO of a corporation, which is, what a charity may be, at the same time, like, that's not my passion, running the business. I just want to help dogs, right? So
Well,
it's important.
Yeah, no, and I agree. You bring up quite a few good points, both of you, and I think we all naturally know that we should go to third-party sources for proof.
Sure.
And I think that a charity is always going to be faced with the fact that there has always been historically scams, time immemorial. This is nothing new. It's just yet another example that makes it yet even harder to do the work that you're intending to do.
Yeah.
I think when I was thinking of it, I was thinking, when we thought about donating, and actually we'll get into the next segment with that dog adoption charity, was social proof was important to us. We were looking to see if people had reported that their money was well spent and that they maintained a relationship, and that was what we looked for. So social proof happens on social media, and you can go with the aggregate. You can look up third party like our website or Charity Navigator, but don't ignore third party validation and social proof as part of your strategy to enhance your credibility, because really people want you to be credible against your mission.
And that's, again, as we have gone through these episodes, we've come and we've built strategy, we've built mission, vision, we've talked through these things up, and we've gotten to a little bit of tactical and content strategy. But again, the why are you getting into this, what's your intent, is so important to think about at the beginning. How am I going to do this? What percentage do I need to do these things? Are these expenses personal expenses, as was the case here, or are they for the charity? Is there something you have to do to split them up to ensure something that doesn't happen? And how do I ensure that I create that trust, that I communicate that trust, to people who are trusting me with either their time, their donation, anything, any of these things.
And I think, Nick, you had even talked about it in your part, is that people will go to your website. They will see when the last time you updated. So if the last time you ran a blog post or announced an event was, I don't know, 2014, I don't know, there's you're creating your own credibility gap.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's important, and that gets into a little bit of a different side of marketing, which is PR, right? So, there's a lot to be said for that. I think, there's a lot to handle when you're running a charity or thinking about starting a charity, and it goes beyond your mission, and it's unfortunate, but there's a lot of paperwork too.
Mhm.
So, logistic, one may even say this operational aspect of it, but even, I know we spoke to James last week, and I mean, you just speak to him or watch one of his videos on his Facebook page. I guess we'll get into that in the next segment, but like, there's no doubt how genuine right he is.
Well, let's make that transition. We've
Okay.
covered the news. Matt, I'm going to ask you to lead in, talk about what was our very first guest
Yeah.
here on the show.
Yeah.
We wanted to get through a series of episodes, and a quick note to our listeners who are discovering us for the first time. Please check out the back catalog. We're working on a journey that will help you understand the marketing and the alignment and the strategy for your charity. But we decided to take a big step, and we invited our first guest. Matt, tell them about who our first guest was and what we discussed.
Oh, well, James Giuliani he started a foundation, a sanctuary for animals, specifically, and it seems to have morphed a lot, over time, if you kind of follow from his book, to which, I'm still reading. It's actually a really good book, and it's a good book, and, which his show on the Oprah Network. And now he has moved out and created a sanctuary for animals. And I say animals because it's not just dogs, and it's not just kind of like dogs that otherwise wouldn't have a chance for some reason or another. And you have to listen to the episode. I can't do it justice, right? You have to hear him describe it firsthand.
Yeah, one of the things he specializes in, and
Raccoons.
it's a little hard for people to understand or even fully appreciate, but
Yeah.
he's a colorful character himself. He has quite the history. His book unpacks some of that, but
Yeah.
he rescues animals that might otherwise be considered unhelpable, unsavable, or just marked for
As he said, a
execution.
10, right? Or an 11.
Yeah.
Right.
And they've they've bit people, and a lot of these animals are considered not great for the home anymore. But he has a soft spot, and wants these animals who may have been abused and reacted to that, to live out their lives in peace. And that's his mission. Whether or not people agree with it or not, he talked about how people don't agree with it, but that is his mission. That's what his foundation is to help the unhelpable.
And he doesn't
And
adopt them out anymore, right? It's a
no,
sanctuary when they come
yep,
in.
it's an end of life sanctuary,
That's it.
and he
They
will
they
keep them as
they
long as they
stay
have
with
to.
him as long as they stay with him.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
he's
amazing.
he said he's taken a lot of flack for it, because these animals have bit people and
Yeah.
maybe put down otherwise. And he also treats them in an unusual way. He keeps them all outside in heated quarters and air-conditioned quarters in the summer. He feeds them high quality food. He cooks. He cooks wonderful homemade Italian food, pizza,
Yeah.
and he feeds them real food. And it's a very unusual thing, but he's found quite a following. Nick,
Oh
what
yeah.
was your impression of James Giuliani during the last show?
Oh, he's definitely a genuine character. I mean, you could tell that he's, sincere about how he feels about the animals. You've got to absolutely love animals, especially pit bulls that have, not just a bad reputation. And I know that's not always true, that pit bulls can be very compassionate to the right people, but he takes those that are 11, on a scale of 1 to 10, that are never going to be adopted. And he loves them. He just said pizza, and he feeds them and makes them, live out. It's just a great guest, genuine article right there. And a lot of it, kind of tying back into the previous story with the, the scam. a lot of what he does is self-funded too. You know, one of the things that he didn't like to do is really ask for donations, ask for money.
Yeah, he doesn't like to
So,
ask for donations.
Yeah.
He puts his
So-
money first, like opposite, right?
Yeah.
Opposite what,
Yeah.
you know, others would do about taking from the fund. He funds first, right?
yeah.
And Matt, I think you had talked about it. Nick just touched on it. I think his sincerity and authenticity is what really drew us to want to speak with him. And you were taken by that as well, which was, you know, he didn't have any airs. He went out there, he does what he believes in, and he speaks every day to his audience with a daily video.
Daily video. Yeah.
What were your thoughts on his approach to connecting with his audience?
My thoughts, well, look, I mean, for me, that's it's often hard to find somebody of like mind like that. I mean, you know, I'm in marketing, you know, and when you go through some of our earlier episodes, it's really easy for people to start to think like, how do I get people to do something? How do I, you know, how do I get donations? How do I get? And when you talk to James, it's different, and it's what I prefer to think of as healthy. I know he didn't necessarily think it was like, you know, he kept, what am I doing wrong? He's not, you know, in my mind, it's what he's doing right, because when he's so genuine, right? And you can, he's avoided the actually, I can't even say he's deliberately gone in a direction where he has not made his job about fundraising, about glad handing, about parties, about running the operational sides of things. He has made his job caring for the animals, and that's the piece that he wants to do, and that is the piece that he will continue to do. And the reason I like that, and the reason I think that's really healthy, is because when you're in marketing and sales, you know, there's things that are bought and there's things that are sold, right? And once you go down that ramp, when you're selling something, right, when you are now putting effort towards the sale, you have to continue to put forth that effort to maintain that sale. That audience you grow has an expectation, and there's effort that goes along with meeting those expectations. But when you're genuine and you're posting a genuine video and you're building a genuine following who genuinely likes what you're doing and who you are, you can maintain your focus on your mission. Now, it's a hard thing to do. It's not fast, right? It is a difficult thing to get there. For any organization, even for profit organizations, it's a difficult thing. But in the end, his following is healthy. These are people who are genuinely aware of him, what he's doing, of his animals, of his mission, right? It's not, there's no clickbait, there's no tricks, there's like,
well,
I was taken by that. I absolutely loved that about speaking with him.
And the hard thing, and we see it even with our own show, guys, it's hard to put out a weekly show. It's hard to be consistent.
Yeah.
It's easy to make a commitment and then 6 months into it, you've run out of steam. And you guys know how hard it is for us to get together. Now, you know, we're still in the tail end of COVID. You know, pretty soon we'll be going out. Nick, you'll be going out, you know, dancing, playing that mariachi guitar that you have. I think all of us have something that we would love to be doing except for staying at home, but we're going to stay consistent and do this weekly. The fact that he does a daily video, he is connecting on a personal level with his audience. They know they can find him every morning, and you can hear the show playing in my house. You know, my wife loves his show. She listens to it. And I think that that's hard. It's hard to be consistent, but as marketers, we know that consistency and dependability is what builds an audience. And it doesn't happen fast, but it's earned, and it's a solid audience, right? It's a strong audience, right?
Yeah.
So you know, that kind of consistency is not easy to come by. He also talked a little bit about how focused his fundraising was, and he wasn't looking to raise much money. Matt, remember that you were actually I think you made a donation during the show, right?
No, before the show. Before the show,
you did
actually, when I was doing research, I saw that he was very close to a goal.
Yeah.
And they needed he was building a fence, and they were very, very close to a goal. And I was doing research, and I was reading his book and watching the videos, and you know, and kind of be like, you know, I like this guy, I like this cause. Why wouldn't I, you know, throw some money that way to, you know, he's the one doing the work, right?
Well, and I was impressed.
I mean, all I did was click a button. You know,
but I was impressed by the specificity of his fundraiser.
Yeah.
He needed $10,000. He needed a fence. Here's the dog that needs a fence.
That's it.
Like, it wasn't like, hey, we're just trying to raise our spring fundraiser.
And it's no spring fundraiser, no 7%. And if you do this before 3 o'clock, we're going to double it. And this company is going to match. And then if you do over $50, you're going to get the book. And then you're going to get the Frisbee. And then if you do over $100, you get the t-shirt. And and it's like, and then if you can click the button to do the auto renew, we have programs for the monthly thing. And no, he's like,
so it doesn't have to be complicated, right?
I need a fence.
Doesn't have to be complicated. It can be very simple.
And simplicity makes it easy for people to understand cause effect. If I donate this much, he'll be able to do this much. Very clear. And incidentally, he did fund. And while he is reluctant to raise money, I think we were all touched by the fact that he's not raising it for himself or his lifestyle. He talks about that quite liberally on his show and on our show. He talked about going on, I think, Oprah, and his dogs made a mess, and the production people were like, we'll take care of this. He's like, no, they're my dogs. I take care of it. Like, he doesn't, you know, he's never going to be above taking care of these animals that he had a mission on. And that to me was very emotionally, it was touching. It meant this isn't just heirs. This isn't a step to the next thing for him. This is the thing.
That's the thing, right? This is the thing. I think he does a good job. Now, are there little things that, you know, maybe he could help with? Yeah, I mean, like, I would like to see, I know he has other channels. His primary is Facebook, you know, so we encourage people to go to his Kenos Animal Shelter Facebook page. But then Sanctuary, and then but there are little apps that you can use that would take that video and automatically put it in some other channels, and perhaps get him a little following on some of those, or honestly, big following. His following is pretty good, right?
His following is great. I think, I think the area where I would recommend very briefly, with
no additional effort, right? It just, you know, like, if this, then that sort of stuff, that takes the video.
Yep.
Right.
Puts it on a YouTube, so you could find him on YouTube. You could find him on.
YouTube would be a great channel for him.
Take the images, but again, you would want to do the things. You would want to look at the things that would ensure that you're not adding any extra effort, right? I mean, he's working 23 hours a day as it is, right? So
yeah,
you know, it would be something that sets up and copies the videos over. He posts the same thing that he would always do, except, you know, mirrors it over to YouTube, mirrors it over to, you know, some other application or something.
Yeah,
like
a little
that.
bit of content repurposing would go a long way.
Yeah.
And I also thought that he did an okay job of tying together his ecosystem, but I still had to work, right? He had the Diamond Collar, he had a TV show, he has the Sanctuary, and what was missing was, if you can believe, I was having a little hard time in the very beginning. Go, what's his name? Like, I had to look, and I was like,
Really?
where is his name? Yeah, if you look at the Facebook page, it says Kenos Animal Sanctuary. It links to the Diamond Collar, and I'm like, what is that? And then it linked to a show on Oprah.
Yeah.
And I was getting a little confused. So, you know, as a user, I might look at his website and think, all right, tie this together in a clear, consistent way with clear, consistent branding. You know, the Diamond Collar is the major underwriter for Keno's Annual Sanctuary, which is also just happened to be a guy who wrote this book, who also used to be on the Oprah Network. I just didn't feel that cohesion because they lacked a unifying brand. He's a unifying brand, but I didn't pull that. I had to work a little bit to get that.
I agree with you, but again, for me, that's part of the genuineness of it, right? I mean, I would be really careful with my recommendations with him. Like, I would not want to go overboard. I would not want it too refined, because now you're going to have to start to maintain that. You're going to have to put work into doing it and to making it. But, you look at that. For me, I look at it and I'm like, that's what it is. That's good enough. That's
True.
that's the website. That's it. This is what's here.
He's not a web developer. He's not a marketing person.
And he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be, trying to be. I think, Diamond Collar, you can buy the stuff online. He's got some e-commerce set up. I think it for me, it looks good. Like it's not, you're not going to mistake it for PetSmart.
No.
It's
No.
But when you go there, why you're there.
And I think you or Nick said
what you're supporting and who you're supporting. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, he does 23 hours a day. With that last hour, maybe he doesn't necessarily need to worry too much about the website. I'm just saying my experience was I had to put together this puzzle piece, and I was motivated to do that.
Sure.
I would just want this to maybe be slightly easier. Maybe somebody within his community might be somebody who's in marketing or website development who might go, all you have to do are these 5 things. Let me do them for you.
Right. I'll do them for you, sort of things. Yeah.
Right. We do that, with websites all the time. Sometimes, someone will ask us about a website. Well, just give me a login and I'll fix it for you.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So final thoughts on our very first guest and our experience thereof and predictions for where we're going in the future. Nick, you go first.
I say let's have more. I thought it was great. I thought it was a great first guest. Looking forward to the next one. Yeah, I mean, it'd be great to get everybody as genuine as he was. So I'm looking forward to it.
Your thoughts, Matt?
I mean, we didn't right after we were talking, and you guys saw. I was inspired, honestly, and for me, the charitable area where we work, because we all have jobs in for-profit sectors and other companies, and doing things, but doing work in charities, to hear stories like that and meet people like him is why you do it, and why we do this show. I mean, couldn't have asked for a better guest in terms of, somebody who is so passionate about the mission. That's who we're focused on. We're not focused on these massive charities that can, pay for commercials and media placement and billboards and the other stuff, and have professional teams handling things. They got that covered. They don't need us. We're here for the people passionate about their missions that are not experts in the things that we do. And this is how we help. This is how we give. And so for me, I was really inspired that, to connect with our audience like that, to connect with people who really have these fantastic stories that are really out there doing good in the world. And I like to hear these good stories,
Yeah, me too. I think it adds a dimension to the show that we're trying to produce. And, I mentioned earlier for new listeners that there's a backlog of stories that we've been telling. We're building, and this is a sequential narrative. We encourage you to start with episode 1, which if we listen to it, it might be a little less polished, and hopefully we get more polished with time and learn better ways. We do have a couple of other guests that we've already queued up. I think people are starting to discover the show.
Yep.
So I'm connecting with charities. So we will almost certainly, if not next episode, the following episode, have a guest. And that brings us to the conclusion of this episode. We try to keep it tight, lean, and mean. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Matt, where can they find you personally? No, actually, I'm going to ask you, Matt, where can they find the podcast and how can they subscribe?
So the best thing to do for the podcast is go to 501c3lookup.org. This is a website that Nick's run for some time now that really spawned all of this. And there's a section for 501 Companion on there. If you're looking for the videos of this podcast, you can find them on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel where we publish everything. We syndicate those over to our 501c3lookup.org website as well. You can find us on social media. You can find us wherever podcasts are heard if you're only looking for the audio portion. So we're audio, we're video, we're all over the place.
And speaking of all over the place, Matt, where can they find you and where is your channel of preference?
Yeah, the best place to find me is at my website, matthewbalo.com. You can pretty much link to all sorts of stuff from there, whether it be the blog or my LinkedIn page. You know, sometimes I do like to go back around and have conversations in the LinkedIn groups. I find them really professional and focused on the various topics. So I enjoy those conversations as well.
Awesome. People should look for Matt on LinkedIn. He is very active and provides a lot of really great links and insights. And speaking of great insights, the architect of the 501c3 lookup.org website, Nick Rufa. First of all, what can they find on the 501c3 lookup.org website?
501c3lookup.org, millions and millions, over 2 million nonprofits listed. It's been running for, almost 10 years. And we've got pretty much the entire history of what the IRS has published as far as nonprofits in that time period. So we break them down. We don't necessarily rank them, but we break them down. We give you their financials. So 501c3lookup.org. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_Rufa. I'm also on LinkedIn as well. I don't post all that much. Not a social media maven like Matt or Buddy, but
It's just a group. Great conversation.
Yeah. So certainly reach out anytime.
You know, Nick, you said something. Sorry, buddy. Nick mentioned something on 501c3lookup.org about the some of the records and stuff that's on there, and just the sheer amount. You know, one thing I want to note when we're prepping for this show, I often use 501c3lookup.org, and one of the reasons I do is because some of these larger charity sites that try to evaluate charities or dive into their financials or have rating systems or any of these things, oftentimes, once again, focus on the larger charities. And when we look at something like the small charity in Kansas that we spoke about today, from that article, you don't find it, right? Because their value prop is in like some sort of personal aspect that they give some sort of rating and review and stuff like that. So they hit the big ones first. And again, we're not a show about the big guys. so it's 501c3 lookup always has what I need when I'm looking for charities big and small. So that's one of the reasons I like to go there.
It's a heck of a resource and free for people to use, and we do hope they use that as a resource. And my name is Buddy Scalera, and I was your host today. You can find me at buddyscalera.com and on all social platforms at Buddy Scalera. We hope you enjoyed the 501 Companion Podcast and consider subscribing so you never miss an episode. If you have any questions, show ideas, or part of a charitable organization that wants to be on this show, visit the 501c3lookup.org website. You'll find our contact information and a complete list of our previous episodes. And of course, the extensive and free resources of the 501c3lookup.org website. Thank you for joining us on the 501 Companion Podcast. We hope you join us again next week.
Take care.